Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Siheyuan. Rebirth of Silly Pillar. With a rebellious understanding after a hangover, he traveled through 1950 and became a 15-year-old boy named He Yuzhu, apprenticed at Fengze Garden. Unexpectedly discovering that this world is not simple, I met a person named Cai Quanwu who pulled a foreign car. Ghost City treasure hunting, meeting 9 sect leaders, about mountains. There is a small tavern outside the front door, and not far away is a snow roof silk shop. He Yuzhu knew the plot and stated that he would never be a vampire in this life, staying away from all the beasts in the courtyard. Coincidentally, with the activation of the supernatural intelligence, I have been cheating all the way since then. Accompanied by beauties such as Chen Shueru and Ding Chunan, life is thriving and the entire courtyard is filled with animals and animals who regret not having lived before. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. 1950, Crossing into a Silly Pillar. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Silly Zhu, you silly kid, get up quickly. You're just dawdling, your master doesn't have a good temper either. He Yuzhu was dazed and woke up with a slap. When he saw the person in front of him clearly, he was immediately startled. Sleeping trough, what's the big ching? Why have I become a foolish pillar? He Yuzhu widened his eyes and surveyed the furnishings in the room. The first thing that catches the eye are the portraits of great figures on the wall, outdated wooden furniture, enamel pots on the table, and coal stoves, and He Daqing, who stared at him with a black face. After repeatedly confirming that he was not dreaming, He Yuzhu's expression was strange and he reluctantly accepted reality. Who would have thought that he was just boring to play after work, and could not help but roast a few words? When he woke up, he became the man in the courtyard full of birds, He Yuzhu. Silly pillar, what are you staring at? Do you want me to spank you? He Daqing cursed and turned around to pour some hot water into the basin. After washing his face, he even applied snow cream very coquettishly. This scene made He Yuzhu a bit funny. You smoke and burn all day in the kitchen, what's the use of wiping this thing? He Daqing's blush, and he felt guilty. He could not help but angrily said, you stupid pillar, you are in charge of my affairs. He Yuzhu chuckled and walked up to pour out the water from the basin, then poured some hot water again. Looking at his anxious self in the mirror, He Yuzhu couldn't help but shake his head. I didn't expect to become a 15-year-old idiot. After experiencing the initial shock, He Yuzhu has fused his memories and learned that it is now 1950, and he is 15 years old this year. That year, He Rainwater was 5 years old, and He Daqing was still working as the head chef in the back of the steel rolling mill, without following the widow Bai to Baocheng. And He Yuzhu, was an apprentice at Fengze Garden, learning to cook with He Daqing's senior brother Chen Wanshan. If nothing unexpected happens, He Daqing will soon leave the 49th city and follow the widow to live in Baocheng. At that time, I will have to live alone with my sister. In the original work, when He Daqing left, he left a sum of money for Zhonghai. I want Zhonghai to help take care of He Yuzhu and his siblings, and then send back 10 yuan per month as He Yuzhu's living expenses. As for Silly Zhu, He Daqing had already arranged his future ahead of time. At this time, the country had not yet implemented public-private partnerships, and merchants had not yet been affected. Working as a cook in Fengzeyuan was a good job. In times of famine, a cook never dies from hunger. This is an old saying. Silly Zhu has been learning how to cook with He Daqing since childhood, and it is said that Tan's family has already mastered a variety of dishes. Now I am learning to cook Shandong cuisine with Chen Wanshan again. When I graduate, even if it doesn't work out, I will still be a cook who can make a living and have no problem supporting myself. What He Daqing didn't expect was that after leaving the courtyard, Zhonghai deducted the money he sent back. Continuously brainwashing and morally kidnapping Silly Zhu, he eventually turned into a reckless and impulsive slacker. Poor silly Pillar was tricked into retirement by the deaf old lady Ni Zhonghai, and was lured by beasts led by Qinhuairu for a lifetime. Thinking of these, He Yuzhu shook his head with a firm gaze. Since I have arrived at the quadrangle, I will definitely not be harmed by animals. This is a hot era, I want to live my own life. Seeing He Yuzhu in a daze, He Daqing impatiently took out 2 hot steamed buns from the pot and wrapped them in oil paper. Hurry up, take them to eat on the way, work hard, and don't let me lose face in front of my senior brother. He Yuzhu let out a cry, took the steamed bun, turned around, and walked out the door. Knowing that his cheap father was about to run away soon, He Yuzhu didn't pay much attention to it. After all, it's not wrong for He Daqing to pursue his own happiness. If we really stop him from running away with the widow, and if he gets a stepmother again, it's even harder to say. After the Chinese New Year, He Yuzhu will be 16 years old. In this era, 16 years old is considered an adult and can afford a family. As for rainwater, a monthly living allowance of 10 yuan is enough, provided that no one intercepts it. He Daqing naturally had no idea what He Yuzhu was thinking. Today, he had to finish his work in the factory early and have a private meeting with Widow Bai. Fengze Garden is located around Qianmen Street, some distance from Nanluoga Lane, and it takes about an hour to walk by leg. The winter in the 4 or 9 cities is very cold. He Yuzhu wrapped himself in a cotton jacket and ate steamed buns while walking. For He Yuzhu, everything in this era is so fresh. Along the way, you can see various inspiring slogans. Although the pedestrians wear simple and monotonous clothes, their faces are filled with enthusiasm and excitement, which is the change brought about by the new country. In the original drama, after He Daqing left, Silly Zhu entered the steel rolling mill, which should have been operated by Zhonghai. Zhonghai used the trick of solving work to gain the trust of Silly Zhu and gradually brainwashed him. He Yuzhu seemed lost in thought. He Daqing's arrangement is to work at Fengzeyuan after his apprenticeship expires, and manager Wang has agreed to this matter. The steel rolling mill has not yet been nationalized and is the private property of Lu Zhenhua. As the head chef of the steel rolling mill, He Daqing is responsible for important reception meals, so he has a good relationship with Lu Zhenhua. In addition, He Daqing and Chen Wanshan, the head chef of Fengzeyuan, are brothers in the same school, and with these 2 layers of relationship, manager Wang is happy to make a smooth relationship. Thinking along the way, he unknowingly arrived at Fengze Garden. Before the door could be opened, He Yuzhu came from the backyard to the kitchen. P.S. Although it was set to start in 1950, for the convenience of all Yanzu viewers, the author directly used the second set of RMB standards. Please support. Chapter 2. System Activation, Overcoming Intelligence. Seeking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Master. He Yuzhu approached Chen Wanshan and bowed his head. In these days, respecting teachers and valuing the way is still deeply ingrained in people's hearts. Whether it's a worker or a chef, if they become a disciple, they must admit it for a lifetime. Anyone who betrays their sect will be scolded and unable to lift their head for a lifetime. Chen Wanshan is one of the top Shandong cuisine masters in the 49 cities, and it is not easy to learn from him. Well, Pillar, you came quite early today. Chen Wanshan nodded and said. Master, aren't you thinking of coming earlier and practicing more? 1 minute on stage and 10 years off stage, I still have a lot to learn. Chen Wanshan was a bit surprised that this sentence could be spoken from He Yuzhu's mouth. He couldn't help but look up and down and said. Pillar, you have gained an understanding. In our profession, basic skills are essential. Take the example of the chopping, the strength, angle, and technique of the knife. Any problem with any point can affect the taste of the dish. I didn't expect it, Pillar. It's really rare for you to realize this at a young age. Chen Wanshan is very satisfied. It seems that this kid has not learned in vain in the past 2 years. If he can think of this, he has already surpassed many people. I still need to trouble my master a lot. He Yuzhu touched the back of his head and chuckled. When watching the drama, he hated silly Zhu for not being able to make steel. In that era, as the chef of a steel rolling mill, he should have been well behaved and respected. Who would have known that this foolish and incompetent person has forced themselves to become a loafer, not only with bad breath but also a bad temper. They often hit people and suffer losses because of this. He Yuzhu doesn't plan on doing this. His generous character has not been established yet, so there's still time. Alright, hurry up and prepare. Okay. He Yuzhu is currently an apprentice and his daily job is to do odd jobs and cut corners. The moment He Yuzhu picked up the kitchen knife, a cold mechanical sound rang in his mind. Ding! Host awakening detected, cognitive reversal activated. Overwhelming comprehension, all skill comprehension speed increased by 1000%. Ding! Reward host newbie gift pack. Newcomer gift pack successfully opened. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 1 gene potion, with a personal space of 1000 square meters. System. He Yuzhu was delighted in his heart that the gold finger, which was a standard accessory for the traveler, had arrived so quickly. Great, now I'm more confident. Although there is an advanced understanding of history, who would mind having too many cheats? With personal space, everything I do in the future will be very convenient, especially during special periods, which is my lifeline. At this point, the attribute interface of He Yuzhu is still very simple, with only 2 lines. Host. He Yuzhu, aged 15 years old, skill. Cooking level 1, 10 out of 100, at present, He Yuzhu only masters the skill of cooking, and with continuous practice of cutting vegetables, his experience bar is also constantly increasing. Cooking skills +1 Cooking skills +1 After a while, He Yuzhu opened the panel again and was pleasantly surprised to find that his cooking skills had become level 2, 30/2000. On the cutting board in front of me, the potato shreds are evenly distributed in thickness and length, giving me an inexplicable beauty. At the same time, many new insights emerged in He Yuzhu's mind. The understanding of swordsmanship has made rapid progress. The 6 knife techniques of straight cutting, push cutting, pull cutting, saw cutting, rolling cutting, and chopping have reached a state of integration and integration. And, there are also some cooking experiences in my mind. If I let him cook now, the dishes he cooks will definitely not be inferior to ordinary chefs. He Yuzhu estimated that he currently has the level of a level 9 cook. Unlike workers, chefs have the lowest level of 10, the highest level of 1, and further up, they are the masters of state banquets, which are rare in the country. Although the experience required for each level up will increase significantly, it is not a big deal for He Yuzhu. After all, I am only 15 years old now and have plenty of time to improve my cooking skills. Moreover, with the incredible intelligence, one can learn other skills on their own and travel 1,000 miles in a day. No matter when, it is always right to learn more skills, not to mention that there will still be some unstable days in the future, which further strengthens He Yuzhu's confidence. At this moment, Chen Wanshan walked over and his eyes lit up. Pillar, your knife skills are good, you look a bit like a chef. It seems you can start cooking now. If you can come up with a few more specialty dishes, you can become a level 10 cook without any problem. Upon hearing Chen Wanshan's words, others also turned their heads curiously, each impressed by He Yuzhu's knife skills, and several old chefs felt inferior. He Yuzhu's 2 senior brothers looked envious. They started early, but now they have been surpassed by a young boy. He Yuzhu smiled and said, Master, you know that I cook at home, and my dad hasn't really started much in the past 2 years. Chen Wanshan nodded and said, Is that right? A table guest happened to be here, so you can show us a little bit. He Yuzhu hummed and put on his apron before starting to prepare. The guest ordered Fengzeyuan's signature dish, dry roasted yellow croaker. This dish tests the chef's cutting skills and control over the heat and seasoning, which ordinary apprentices simply cannot access. He Yuzhu, on the other hand, is different. He learned to cook 10 family dishes from He Daqing since childhood, and there is a systematic bonus, which is not too difficult for him. I saw He Yuzhu quickly removing scales and changing knives, so fast that a phantom appeared in front of everyone's eyes, leaving them stunned. Next, heat up the frying spoon. Fry the large yellow croaker until golden brown, then remove it from the pan and pour in white sugar. Stir fry until the sugar color is achieved. Add seasonings such as water, scallions, ginger, salt, monosodium glutamate, rice vinegar, etc. Then put the fried yellow croaker into the pot and cook. Finally, pour the juice onto a plate. After a series of operations by He Yuzhu, a dry roasted yellow croaker with a shiny color, soft and tender meat, and a rich and fragrant taste was presented to everyone. This pillar, you're too amazing. Be good, this dry roasted yellow croaker is no different from what Master Wang makes. It smells even stronger. Not bad, even I can't do it so perfectly. Pillar, you're a real person who doesn't show off. It seems like you're secretly practicing at home. Zhuzhu's father is also one of the top chefs in 49 cities, and even Boss Lu highly values him. It's not surprising that Zhuzhu has this skill. Everyone was amazed. As soon as the expert made a move, they knew if it was there. They just watched the process of He Yuzhu cooking and knew that the taste of this dish was definitely not bad. The most surprising thing was Chen Wanshan. Although he knew that the pillars were skilled, according to the rules, it would take a year for his apprenticeship to end. Now it's different. With this dish alone, he is confident in convincing the shopkeeper to convert the pillar to a regular position in advance. Fengze, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and serve the dishes. With a big wave of Chen Wanshan's hand, Fengze quickly ran towards the front hall with vegetables, and soon ran back happily, saying, Master, the guests all thought this dish was made by you, and the food you ate was called fragrant. Everyone was shocked and didn't expect He Yuzhu's cooking skills to be so impressive. It seems that another chef has emerged from Fengze Garden. Chapter 3. Early Confirmation and Salary Collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day, He Yuzhu had multiple opportunities to cook. And he did not disappoint Chen Wanshan either. Every dish was cooked with perfect color, aroma, and flavor, receiving unanimous praise from many diners. Even the shopkeeper Luan arrived at the kitchen. Okay, Pillar, it's a bit of a family-style chef. My apprentices at Fengze Garden all have such amazing culinary skills, and it's a beautiful thing to hear about it. After years of struggling, the shopkeeper Luan has transformed from a small beggar to the shopkeeper of Fengze Garden, and his eyesight is naturally not inferior. Although I had already noticed that He Yuzhu had some talent, I didn't expect to underestimate this young man. The shopkeeper praised me too much. It all depends on my master's willingness to teach me and support me, otherwise I wouldn't have had the opportunity. He Yuzhu smiled and said humbly. Shopkeeper Luan nodded in satisfaction and looked at Chen Wanshan, saying, Old Chen, a famous master produces a master. You have once again made a great contribution to our Fengze Garden. Chen Wanshan was also very happy. Who wouldn't want his disciples to have success? He Yuzhu could always remember his master, which was enough. Shopkeeper, Zhuzhu is a good kid who is diligent and eager to learn. Since he has skills now, can we give him a raise in salary? Chen Wanshan is an elder who founded Fengze Garden with Manager Luan. He is familiar with Manager Luan's personality and has always attached great importance to talent. Sure enough, Manager Luan immediately said, Of course, the pillar costs 10 yuan per month now, and there is still 1 year of apprenticeship, right? I have made the decision. The remaining apprenticeship period of the pillar will be waived, and in the future, I will work in the second kitchen. My salary is 32 yuan per month, and I will take 4 days off per month. The salary for a level 10 cook is 27.5 yuan. He Yuzhu has not yet obtained the certification, and Manager Luan is offering such a high salary, which is already very good. Pillar, thank you, shopkeeper, for your patience. Chen Wanshan was overjoyed, just like his own children. He was genuinely happy for He Yuzhu at this moment. He Yuzhu was also pleasantly surprised and quickly said, thank you, shopkeeper. Please do it well, I will definitely do it well. You should know that He Daqing's current salary is only 55 yuan, which is why Lu Zhenhua values him and deliberately gives him such a high salary. After a few years of public-private partnership, the highest salary for factory chefs can only reach level 6, which is much lower than now. In the original drama, Silly Zhu offended Li Huai due to his bad and reckless mouth. He worked as a level 8 cook for half his life and only became the deputy director of the cafeteria when he was about to retire. Now that He Yuzhu is only 15 years old, he has received a monthly salary of 32 yuan. If this were to spread, everyone in the courtyard would go crazy. The shopkeeper Luan chuckled and patted He Yuzhu's shoulder, saying, you have the ability and deserve it. Pillar, work hard, we Fengze Garden can't treat you unfairly. After the shopkeeper Luan left, Fengze and another apprentice, Daqing, approached with envy on their faces and said, Pillar, congratulations. You have much more success than the senior brothers. Yeah, we still have half a year of apprenticeship left. You came later than us, so you've already become the second cook. He Yuzhu smiled and said, senior brothers, don't be discouraged either. I learned from my father since I was young and have a solid foundation. Otherwise, I would be the same as you. As long as we study hard with our master in the future, we can all live a good life. Upon hearing this, Fengze and Daqing no longer felt any imbalance in their hearts. They only felt that this junior brother was a bit different. He changed his previous recklessness and became more magnanimous and humble. Chen Wanshan nodded. It seemed that this foolish pillar had truly enlightened, and couldn't help but marvel at He Daqing giving birth to a good son. Zhu is right. You two need to work harder. Your road is still long, and in the future, you should help each other and not let your master down. Yes, master, Kong and his son said solemnly. Time passed quickly, and after the last wave of guests left, the kitchen staff also began to pack their things and leave work. Pillar, here, this is the rule of our Fengze Garden. Every apprentice who becomes a regular has it. Chen Wanshan handed He Yuzhu a bag, which contained 5 pounds of rice, 5 pounds of fujiang powder, and 2 pounds of soy sauce beef. This is the rule set by Manager Luan, in order to make everyone feel the sincerity and respect of Fengze Garden. He Yuzhu didn't hesitate and accepted his things, saying, Master, it's thanks to you that I was able to become a regular so quickly. I'll go home to see you on Sunday. Chen Wanshan was very happy and laughed, okay, it's just the right time for the two of us to have a drink. He Yuzhu smiled and greeted everyone before leaving the kitchen with his belongings. Looking at the heavy object in his hand, He Yuzhu wanted to put it into the space, but the people coming and going at the moment were not opportunities. He Yuzhu had no intention of walking back on his legs. It was a tiring journey of about 10 miles. At this moment, there was a yellow chartered carriage not far away. He Yuzhu quickly waved and the coachman ran over. Hello comrade, where are you going? He Yuzhu was about to speak when he looked up and froze. Kai Nun. The person in front of me looks very similar to my father He Daqing, just like they were carved from the same mold. The only difference is that he is much younger than He Daqing. He Yuzhu immediately thought of the male lead among the young women under the Zhengyang sect, Cai Quanwu. Hey, do you know me? Cai Quanwu didn't look surprised, he didn't remember knowing this young man. Oh, I work in Fengze Garden. I've been here every day and heard others call out your name. He Yuzhu casually made up an excuse to evade it, but he didn't expect it to be a world of fusion. Cai Quanwu didn't think much and smiled, young man, you're young. It's really nice to be able to work at Fengzeyuan. I usually carry a steamed bun on Xianmen Street, and when I have free time, I run a tricycle. People in this area know me. He Yuzhu nodded and smiled. Hi, I'm just an apprentice. He Yuzhu put his things on the car and sat on it himself, saying, Master, please go to the courtyard at 95, Nanluoga Lane. Okay, Cai Quanwu pulled up the tricycle and ran. The two of them chatted along the way, and He Yuzhu also inquired about everything. He found out that Cai Quanwu was now alone and his family was gone. Cai Quanwu said that he has never seen his own father and has been living with his mother since childhood. When he was in junior high school, his mother passed away due to illness. In order to make a living, he had to work hard at a young age to make a living. Upon hearing this, a thought came to He Yuzhu's mind. Cai has nothing at all, isn't he brother to my cheap dad? According to the extravagant tradition of the Lao He family, it is very likely that it was the promiscuous debt of He Daqing's father back then. You should know that in the old society, Tan family cuisine was a palace dish that only high-ranking officials and nobles could afford. The chefs who could cook Tan family cuisine were definitely not ordinary, and they had money in their hands. The two of them chatted along and soon returned to the courtyard. Alright, that's it. You keep the 50 cents. He Yuzhu jumped out of the car and handed 50 cents to Cai Quanwu. Okay, if you have anything else to do in the future, you can give me your orders. I'll be in the vicinity of the big fence. If you have any work to move things or pull goods, just come to me. He Yuzhu thought to himself that if you were really my cheap uncle, how dare I command you to work? Okay. Thinking so in his heart, He Yuzhu still fully agreed and thought of taking He Daqing back to meet Cai Quanwu. He really wanted to see the scene of brothers recognizing each other. As soon as He Yuzhu stepped into the courtyard with one foot, Yan Bugue welcomed him. Silly Pillar, you've come back to the calculations. Chapter 4. Zhonghai arranges blind dates, seeking collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Third Master, what's wrong with this? He Yuzhu frowned and asked. It can be said that Yan Bugue is only 38 years old this year, a few years younger than He Daqing. There are many enemy spies hidden among the masses now, and the Military Control Commission has selected representatives in various courtyards to combat them. Zhonghai, Lu Haizhong, and Yan Bugue became the three managers of the number 95 courtyard. Also, your dad asked your third aunt to take care of the rain this afternoon, and then went out without saying what to do. It seems like it's already late at night and he hasn't come back yet. Well, Rainwater said nothing and didn't eat, so he had to go home and wait for you and Lao He. No matter what I say to your three aunties, it won't work. Yan Bugue sighed, this girl is even more difficult to coax than her own three kids. Woo, brother. As he was speaking, Rainwater ran over crying and hugged He Yuzhu's thigh. Brother. He Yuzhu looked at Siheyuan with a crying face and felt a little sorry. He quickly squatted down and whispered. Be good, don't cry in the rain. Brother, I'm back now. Look, I brought you some delicious food. Rain tightly hugged He Yuzhu, and when he heard something delicious, his stomach couldn't help but growl. Seeing that the bag in Silly Zhu's hand was full, Yan Bugue's eyes lit up. Before he could speak, He Yuzhu said. Third Master, thank you for taking care of the rain today. I'll bring you 2 pounds of stick noodles later. After speaking, He Yuzhu returned home with the rain. Pillar, it's not a big deal, so thank you first, Third Master. Yan Bugue chuckled and shouted at Silly Pillar. This Silly Pillar has grown up, knowing that human relationships have changed. Although 2 pounds of stick noodles are not much, they are enough to feed his family for a day. Thinking of He Daqing, who was unreliable, Yan Bugue couldn't help but shake his head and turned around to go home. He Yuzhu poured the grain he brought back into the rice jar and cut a few slices of sauce beef for the Rainwater. Rainwater, please cushion it first. I'll cook for you now. Rainwater let out a sound, grabbed a piece of beef and stuffed it into his mouth, then burst into a satisfied smile. "Brother, this beef is really delicious." Looking at the smile on his sister's face, He Yuzhu's heart also felt a hint of softness. With his own presence, he would never let Rain be wronged in this life. "It's delicious, but you can't be too greedy to eat too much. Just wait for me to finish soon." There was no one at home for a whole day, and the stove went out. He Yuzhu lit the stove first to warm the house. Then he quickly mixed the noodles and rolled them into noodles. Boil the water, below. Lie down for 2 more poached eggs, spread a few slices of beef on top, and a bowl of fragrant beef and egg noodles will be ready. "Brother, the noodles you make are really delicious." Rainwater sucked in his nose, picked up a few noodles, and blew them into his mouth. Watching the rain clumsily holding chopsticks, He Yuzhu felt the warmth of family affection, and his idea of protecting his sister became even more firm in his heart. The little girl fussed all day and quickly fell asleep after eating. It was not until then that He Yuzhu had the opportunity to take out the gene potion, and the effect automatically came to mind. After taking it, it can improve the body's functions to perfection and be immune to all kinds of toxins. He Yuzhu's face showed a joyful expression, and without hesitation, he looked up and drank it. In an instant, a warm current spread throughout his limbs, making him indescribably relaxed and comfortable. The body is the capital of revolution. After being genetically modified, one no longer has to worry about the torment of illness. After calming down, He Yuzhu began to tidy up the house, waiting for Daqing to come back. Meanwhile, the Jia family. "Mom, I just have a crush on Qinhuairu. I won't marry unless she does." "Dongxiu, it's not that Mom despises rural people. With your conditions, you can definitely find a city household registration, and then our family will be dual employees. Who can match us?" At this time, Jia Zhang was only in her 40s, but her figure was as bulky as in the original drama. Jia Dongxiu remained unmoved and turned to look at Zhonghai, who understood his meaning and spoke. "Sister-in-law, if you want me to talk about this matter, it depends on Dongsu's intentions. After all, living together as a couple is a lifelong thing. I have had contact with that girl before. She is very nice, hardworking and capable. She does needlework well and is also skilled in household chores. During my time in Qinjia village, there were often people who came to her house to propose marriage. They didn't really like her, so they just looked at Middle East Su. I think this can be done." Last month, the steel rolling mill responded to the policy call and organized a labor assistance campaign for farmers. The steel rolling mill sent a team of workers to Qinjia village to help repair agricultural machinery, and Zhonghai was also among them, and he also lived in Qinhuairu's house. As soon as he came and went, Zhonghai became familiar with the Qin family. Qinhuairu was hardworking, capable, and beautiful, so Zhonghai began to think of matchmaking for Jia Dongxiu. Jia Dongxiu was his chosen elderly care partner. If he were to take the lead in marrying his wife, Jia Dongxiu would still be grateful and cry bitterly, and would wholeheartedly listen to his words from then on. Later, Zhonghai arranged for Jia Dongxiu and Qinhuairu to meet, and the two of them looked at each other. Jia Zhang heard that the other party was from a rural area and strongly disagreed. In her heart, her son is going to marry a city worker because she has a rural household registration, and her daughter-in-law must be able to eat commodity grain. Jia Dongxiu couldn't resist his mother and had to move out of Zhonghai. Besides, even if her parents' family is from the countryside, they have land and will never worry about not having enough food to eat at any time, so there's no need for Dongxiu's help. It's great. The most important thing is that he comes from a good rural background, so there is no need to worry about his composition. Dongsu is about to become a full-time employee, so don't let this affect him, as it will delay his child's life. Zhonghai is truly a master of brainwashing, knowing that Jia Zhang cares most about her son. In just a few words, he hit her heart. Jia Zhang became anxious and quickly said, that's not possible. Nothing is as important as my son's work. Our Jia family must marry a girl with an innocent background. Jia Dongshu's face lit up and he said, Mom, do you agree? Jia Zhang's face sank, who said I agreed. Let's wait until I see that girl. Jia Zhang was somewhat unwilling and always wanted Jia Dongshu to marry a city worker. But when Zhonghai said so, she was also a bit worried. The issue of ingredients is not a joke, as many people in the city are now affected. If my son marries a capitalist daughter, the future will be difficult. This is not what Jia Zhang wants. Zhonghai felt there was a play and took the opportunity to say, alright, sister.in.law. I'll arrange a blind date with Dong Su this Sunday. If both of them think it's suitable, they can directly get engaged to the two children. Don't worry, Dongshu is my disciple. I will take care of the wedding and give the couple a gift when the time comes. Zhonghai, in order to plan his retirement, tried to win over Jia Dongshu and spared no expense. As soon as Jia Zhang heard that there was an advantage, he was a bit tempted, but his face remained unchanged and he said, Lao Yi, I'll trouble you with this matter. Jia Zhang knew that the most influential person in the courtyard now was Zhonghai, and his son would have to rely on him for promotion and face in the future. Jia Dongshu smiled and his master had said so. It was highly likely that the matter of marrying a wife would be successful. Thinking of Qinhuairu, Jia Dongshu's heart was filled with excitement and he said, Master, then it's all up to you. Chapter 5. Conversations between father and son, seeking collection, seeking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Late at night, Daqing sneaked into the room, afraid of being discovered by others. These days, those who wander outside in the middle of the night are not good people. If caught by the security forces, they must ask for help. Dad, you're back. The pitch-black room was filled with sounds, and Daqing was so scared that he raised his heart to his throat and cursed softly, Little rabbit, you want to scare me to death. You've been coming back late lately, are you busy? He Yuzhu turned on the light and said in a secluded way. Me, what can I do? You're still taking care of me. Daqing's eyes dodged and he waved his hand to urge He Yuzhu to go to bed quickly. I already know, have you been getting along with a widow lately? Daqing was stunned. He thought he had done it perfectly, but how could he have been discovered by this silly kid? Are you planning to leave me and the rain behind and live with that widow? He Yuzhu asked again. Daqing's face was complicated. Since his son had discovered him, he decided not to pretend and said, how did you know? He Yuzhu pouted and his gaze fell on the package beside him. You've packed your things, I've never seen you so diligent before. You always leave early and return late, you really think I'm stupid. Daqing let out a heavy sigh and said, Pillar, since you already know, Dad won't hide it from you. Your Aunt Bai is good to me. We get along very well and want to live together, but she has 2 sons in Baoqing, who are a few years younger than you. Dad, there's nothing he can do. Fortunately, you've grown up now and can afford a family. I'll go talk to Manager Wan and say, you're so hardworking that you can support yourself. Daqing wants He Yuzhu to continue working in Fengze Garden, and with Chen Wanshan present, he can also help take care of it. Entering the steel rolling mill requires starting as an apprentice, wasting 3 years in vain. What about the rain? Are you really willing to leave her behind? She waited for you all day, crying and making a fuss at Sandiye's house. Do you know? Daqing looked at He Rainwater, who was sleeping soundly, with a heart-wrenching expression on his face. Unlike people in this era, he did not have a preference for sons over daughters, but instead showed more affection towards He Rainwater. But in the pursuit of happiness, he ultimately became ruthless. I'm sorry Rainwater, don't tell her about this yet. After I go to Baoqing, I will send back 10 yuan per month as living expenses for Rainwater. Pillar, you follow senior brother Chen and work hard. I can already support my family at your age. He Yuzhu said calmly, are you so sure that you can live comfortably in Baoqing? You said the widow still has 2 sons. Can they provide you with retirement when you get old? He Daqing fell silent. He couldn't be sure, but it was decades later. Seizing the happiness in front of him was the most important thing. Don't worry about it, I'll come back later. You can't just ignore me. Good guy, He Yuzhu rolled his eyes at the sound. Is this something that a father can say? Since I can't stop you, there are a few things I need to tell you. Today, Manager Wang gave me an early confirmation and a monthly salary of 32 yuan, which is enough for me to live with rainwater. In addition, you must send back 15 yuan per month, and I will save it to help rainwater go to college. Also, you have to leave both our house and my apprenticeship salary for the past few years to me. Tomorrow, we will go to the police station to handle this matter and then visit my master's house. He Daqing looked surprised, feeling that Silly Zhu seemed to have changed his personality. He even had some doubts whether it was his own foolish son. Dad, don't look at me like that. Since you've already decided to leave, I have to think more about it for me and the rain in the future. If I really hit the nail on the head, you'll have to come back and rely on me for retirement in the future. He Daqing was so angry that he couldn't help but slap him. After thinking about it, he realized that he had done something wrong and slowly put down his hand. Pillar, have you really become a regular? Isn't there still 1 year of apprenticeship left? Don't deceive me. He Daqing was skeptical. What's there to lie to you about? Today, my master asked me to cook and showed my skills. As soon as the shopkeeper Luan was happy, he converted me to a full-time employee. Master said he wants you to go home tomorrow and have a drink with you. Upon hearing this, He Daqing grinned and said, Good kid, he truly deserves to be my son and has great achievements. Now Dad can go to Baoqing with more peace of mind. After that, I will send money back every month. I hope rainwater doesn't hold grudges against me. He Yuzhu couldn't help but roll his eyes and didn't hold a grudge against you. How could it be? Leave your 5-year-old daughter behind to raise a son for someone else, whoever can bear it. Putting on such an unreliable and foolish guy, he rainwater in the drama can also be considered unlucky. But now with him, rain will surely bring happiness and happiness to grow up, and life will also become different. As for the house, Dad promised you that it was originally passed on to you, and I will leave you another 300 yuan. He Yuzhu nodded. This is how he looks like a father. After the matter was revealed, He Daqing's whole life became much easier. Recently, he has been worried about this every day because he is afraid that the 2 children won't be able to bear it after running away. After all, blood is thicker than water. You kid, you're counting on me. It's okay, not too foolish. He Daqing was in a good mood and started joking with He Yuzhu. You're my dad, can I really be foolish? He Yuzhu gave his father a white look and said, One more thing, I know a rickshaw puller today, who looks exactly like you. I doubt if it was my grandfather's promiscuous debt back then. Upon hearing this, He Daqing frowned and recalled. It seems like there was such a thing going on back then. Perhaps I can't say for sure if I really have a brother outside. Tomorrow, take me to take a look. If it's really your second uncle, then we have to admit it. From now on, you can help each other, and I'll feel even more at ease. He Yuzhu was speechless. He had a good calculation and ran away on his own, letting his younger brother take the blame. When do you plan to leave? He Yuzhu asked. After thinking for a moment, He Daqing said, I'll leave in a few days. Your Aunt Bai is here to visit our family. I'll go back to Baoqing with her then. Well, that's good, there's still time. Before leaving, complete all the procedures and then go to the street to open an introduction letter. Don't go to Baoqing and become a gangster and get caught. He Daqing's face was full of black lines. Did you say that about him? But Silly Zhu was right. If you want to leave, you need to arrange it properly. Until then, He Daqing realized that Silly Zhu had really grown up. Perhaps he can really take care of the rainwater. Thinking of this, the guilt in He Daqing's heart eased a lot. Chapter 6. Director Wang's shock, the pillar is a person. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 6. The next day, He Yuzhu arrived early at Fengze Garden. Although he was no longer an apprentice after becoming a regular employee, He Yuzhu still took the initiative to do miscellaneous work before going to work. In his words, one cannot forget their roots. This has been highly appreciated by teachers, including Chen Wanshan, and Manager Luan is even more pleased that he did not misread anyone. After a wave of guests left at noon, He Yuzhu found an opportunity to ask for a half-day leave from Manager Luan. Shopkeeper, theoretically speaking, I can't take leave after just becoming a regular employee, but my dad is going to Daqing and some procedures need to be handled at the police station. He Yuzhu didn't hide it and revealed that He Daqing had found a widow to protect the city. This useless thing. Surprisingly, he had the heart to leave his children behind and run to marry a widow. Upon hearing this, Chen Wanshan blew his beard and glared angrily. He slammed the table fiercely and was about to go find He Daqing to settle the accounts. The two are martial brothers, and He Yuzhu has been studying with him for over 2 years. Chen Wanshan has long regarded He Yuzhu as his own child. Upon hearing that He Daqing was going to abandon a pair of children, I couldn't bear it anymore. Finally, he was stopped by He Yuzhu. Master, my dad is going to marry a widow and go to Daqing. Let him go, it shouldn't be a bad thing. If you really marry me and Rainwater as stepmothers, I'm not sure what to do. Anyway, I can make money now, it's not a big deal. Upon hearing this, Manager Luan couldn't help but nod and say. Okay, Zhu, he's a man. If you have any difficulties in the future, feel free to mention them. We are all a family in Fengze Garden. He Yuzhu was somewhat moved and quickly said, thank you, shopkeeper. In the future, I may have to bring my sister over, after all, we are the only two left at home. Shopkeeper Luan waved his hand and said, no problem, we're such a big restaurant that we can't do without a little girl to eat. Upon seeing the situation, Chen Wanshan stopped saying anything and only reminded He Yuzhu to do everything that needed to be done well. Well, I know master. He Yuzhu nodded and headed straight home after leaving Fengze Garden. Rain will only start elementary school next year, and I have to follow me back and forth for the past 6 months. This is not a big deal. Tomorrow I'll go buy a bicycle, and let the old man pay for it. He Yuzhu walked and thought as he walked. It's not close from the courtyard to Fengze Garden. It's okay to go on your own legs and exercise your foot strength, but rain won't do. The little girl is only 6 years old and can't walk with her. In this way, bicycles are essential. At the street office, Director Wang frowned and looked at the father and son in front of him. This is the first time she has encountered this situation. He Daqing, have you made up your mind and really want to live in Daqing? Are you willing to let your daughter, who is only 6 years old? Director Wang is very dissatisfied with He Daqing's practice of abandoning his children. But it seems that He Yuzhu's attitude is not very resistant. This made her somewhat puzzled. Director Wang, I have discussed this matter with my father and I don't blame him. I'm here today to be a witness for my dad and prove that he hasn't abandoned our siblings. Besides, my dad is also actively responding to the country's call. Marrying a widow is not embarrassing, but rather honorable. He Daqing was stunned. This silly kid understands all the policies of the country. Not only did He Daqing feel confused, but Director Wang was also stunned. I never expected this to come out of the mouth of a 15-year-old child. He Yuzhu pointed to the document on the table and said with a smile, Director Wang, my dad can be considered a positive example. Director Wang opened his mouth in surprise and said, Pillar, do you recognize characters? The document on the table is exactly the one about women's freedom of marriage. The document means that widows cannot be prevented from remarrying against women's wishes. There are also regulations regarding supporting Yao Jia to become virtuous and participate in social construction. For decades of continuous wars, it would be good if the common people could live, but there is no chance to read and read. Even the cadres in the street office have many semi-literate individuals who are receiving literacy education. Director Wang was surprised by He Yuzhu's ability to read documents. In fact, He Yuzhu also attended primary and secondary schools due to family reasons, which is equivalent to the level of grades 4.5 in elementary school. In his past life, he even attended night university and improved a lot. So the document in front of him is not very difficult. I read it when I was a child. Thanks to my father's frugality, I was able to finish elementary school. He Yuzhu smiled and didn't forget to say good things to his father. After all, there is a problem with the composition of the He family. It is not as simple as 3 generations of hired farmers. When confirming the ingredients, Dad must have thought of a way. Since I am a third-generation hired farmer, I have to do all the acting, and it's best to form a subconscious idea. In this way, even if someone wants to talk about their father's past in the future, it's not that simple. He Daqing, you really gave birth to a good son. Director Wang felt a little emotional. There was a talent right in front of him, why didn't he notice it before? Unfortunately, He Yuzhu is only 15 this year, otherwise having him come to the street office for work would definitely be a big help. With He Yuzhu's statement here, Director Wang did not embarrass He Daqing and quickly completed the procedures. A letter of introduction from He Daqing. There are also ownership certificates for the 2 rooms in the courtyard, with the name changed to He Yuzhu. He Daqing, your marriage to a widow can be considered a help to me. Come back to the street office and reward your family with 10 pounds of double noodles and 5 pounds of edible oil. Director Wang is worried that his work cannot continue. Although documents have been issued by the higher authorities, old ideas are deeply rooted. Who is willing to marry a widow, let alone Yao Jia? He Daqing made a good start, and Director Wang did not pursue his decision to leave his children alone to protect the city. After all, He Yuzhu spoke for him. Not only will we not pursue it, but we will also reward him and use this opportunity to promote the policy. Thank you Director Wang, thank you Director Wang. He Daqing, like a treasure, carried the letter of introduction into his arms. With this thing, he can obtain a certificate from the White Widow. Even if I go to Baocheng, I am not afraid of being caught as a blind spot. With my own skills, I am not just looking for a job casually. Pillar, you are a good person with a sense of responsibility. If you encounter any difficulties in the future, come to the street to handle it. Director Wang believes that He Yuzhu is a talented person who will definitely have great potential in the future and intends to build closer relationships. Thank you, Director Wang, for your concern. He Yuzhu smiled and nodded. Coming out of the street office, He Yuzhu looked at his happy father and said, if it weren't for me today, Director Wang wouldn't have opened an introduction letter for you so easily. He Daqing was in a good mood, with an old face full of wrinkles. Good kid, when did you become so clever? Dad won't call you stupid pillar anymore. Humph, you've all gone to Baocheng, where should we go? He Daqing knew he had said the wrong thing and awkwardly said, Pillar, Dad, I'm sorry for you and rainwater. He Yuzhu waved his hand and said, I know, this way, buy me a bicycle. It will be convenient for me to carry the rain wherever I go in the future. I go out every day, and the rain can't stay at Mr. San's house all the time. He Daqing was stunned for a moment. A bicycle costs at least 200 yuan, which is worth more than half a year's salary, not a small sum. Seeing the expression on He Yuzhu's face and recalling the rain, He Daqing suddenly let out his breath. Bite your teeth and say, buy. Pillar, Dad will give you 500 yuan to buy a bicycle, and the rest will be enough for you and the rain expenses. He Yuzhu grinned and said, Dad, you're finally generous. Chapter 7. Buying a bicycle and encountering a big leader seeking. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The two of them returned to the courtyard, and the rain was still at Yan Bugue's house. They entrusted the third aunt to take care of them. He Yuzhu brought 2 pounds of stick noodles to Yan Bugue, but his mouth couldn't even close when he brought pleasure to Yan Bugue. Lao He, you've been leaving early and returning late all day. The girl Rainwater is entrusted to her third aunt. Don't worry. Yan Bugue smiled happily, hoping that He Daqing and his son would go out every day. This will bring more benefits. Old Yan, I have no choice but to trouble you. He Daqing shook his head and carried the rain back home. Subsequently, he painfully took out 500 yuan and handed it to He Yuzhu. Over the past few years of hard work, I have accumulated over 1,000. Leave 500 for the pillar, and the rest is enough for the White Widow to explain. Dad, come on, let's go buy a bike and also buy some sugar for the rain to eat. He Yuzhu happily stuffed the envelope containing the money into his pocket and took the opportunity to put it in his personal space. Wherever you go, you are not afraid to lose it. As soon as he heard that there was sugar to eat, He Rainwater clapped his hands happily. He pinched He Daqing's bitter gourd-like face with his hand and said, Dad, I want to eat milk candy. He Daqing squeezed out a smiling face and said, Okay, buy candy for Rainwater to eat. Soon, the three of them arrived at the Supply and Marketing Cooperative. After buying candy at the grocery counter, He Yuzhu headed straight to the bicycle counter. The Supply and Marketing Cooperative is crowded with people here, all crowded around bicycles. As if looking at some treasure, their eyes were hot and they wanted to reach out and touch, but dared not. Although there are many people watching, there are not many who have bought bicycles. Hello comrade, how much does this bicycle cost per unit? He Yuzhu squeezed into the crowd and asked at the counter. The salesperson looked so young and casually said. This is the newly arrived pigeon bike, 180 yuan. As soon as the people around heard this, they immediately took a deep breath. An ordinary person's monthly salary is only around 20 yuan, and this bicycle can withstand half a year's salary. Who can afford it? Okay, then I'll buy one. The salesperson thought he had misunderstood with confidence and widened his eyes, unable to make a statement. What are you saying? Do you want to buy a bicycle? Yeah, what's the problem? He Yuzhu took out money from his pocket and handed it to the salesperson. At present, the country has not yet implemented unified purchase and sales, and buying things does not require a ticket, so some things need to be purchased early. After 2 years, even if you have money, you won't be able to buy it. A large factory like a steel rolling mill with 10 to 20,000 people only distributes dozens of bicycle tickets each year. Having tickets alone is not enough. We also need industrial vouchers, which are not something that ordinary people can obtain. No problem. The salesperson reacted and quickly took the money. After confirming that there were no issues, the proof was quickly issued. Comrade, this is your procedure and you still need to spend 3 yuan to stamp the steel seal. He Yuzhu took over the formalities and looked at the new car in front of him. He nodded happily and said, You know what you know, let's handle it together. Flying pigeon bicycles, commonly known as the 28 poles. There is a crossbeam in the middle, which, due to technical limitations, can form a stable triangular structure. Little comrade, I really can't tell that you can afford a bicycle. This is the latest domestically produced bicycle in our country, and the price is not cheap. Even if I want to buy, I need to think carefully and not act impulsively, causing my stomach to suffer for the sake of face. At this moment, a middle-aged man wearing a Zhongshan suit with a determined appearance walked out of the crowd and looked at He Yuzhu. Today he came down to inspect the work and happened to come to the Supply and Marketing Cooperative, where he encountered this scene. Buying a bicycle is not a problem, the problem is that He Yuzhu can afford a bicycle at a young age, which surprised him very much. I thought He Yuzhu was a young master from a certain family, with such extravagance. This does not comply with the policies advocated by the country. Upon hearing the words, He Yuzhu looked around and couldn't help but freeze. Big leader. The person in front of me is very familiar. He is the big leader in the play. Just younger than in the drama, he looks just in his 40s. You know, this is the real boss in charge of the Ministry of Industry. Later, Yang, the director of the steel rolling mill, and Li Huaid were all his subordinates. He Yuzhu didn't expect to meet the big leader here. He suppressed his excitement and said, "Hello comrade, I have no impulse. This is the money I saved as an apprentice. I didn't expect to be able to afford a bicycle either. All of this is thanks to our new country. A few years ago, I couldn't even eat enough, how dare I have the idea of cycling. But since the establishment of the new country, our ordinary people's lives have become easier. Everyone is equal, has a job, and can earn money, which is truly standing up. Just like buying a bicycle today, I can buy a sewing machine in 2 years. As long as we work diligently, we will eventually have a good day." "Okay, that's great." The applause from the crowd was thunderous, and He Yuzhu's wave win thoroughly. The leader showed a satisfied expression, not expecting this young man to have such enlightenment. "Comrade, what is your name and which unit do you work for?" The leader showed interest and asked. "My name is He Yuzhu, and I live in the courtyard of number 95 Hongxing Street. I have been an apprentice at Fengze for several years and have just become a regular chef." He Yuzhu is well aware of the power of the leader and does not intend to miss this opportunity. "In the future, when you have time, you can come to Fengze and try my craft." The leader nodded with a smile and said, "This young man is still a cook, not bad." He immediately took note of the name He Yuzhu in his heart. In this era, the main theme is to have one's heart set on the red star and sing praises. This is also He Yuzhu's code of conduct. Using this move to deal with the beasts in the courtyard makes the big stick of Zhonghai's moral kidnapping useless. If anyone dares to calculate on themselves, let them feel the baptism of red education. After greeting the leader, He Yuzhu pushed his bicycle out of the supply and marketing cooperative. He Daqing was waiting at the door with the rein in his arms. Seeing the brand new bicycle, He Daqing was a bit eager to give it a try. But he has never ridden this thing before, afraid of falling. He Yuzhu carried the rainwater onto the crossbeam and rode on it himself. With a big wave of his hand, he let He Daqing sit in the back seat. Domestic bicycles have no other advantages, but they are resistant to manufacturing. Carrying 200 or 300 kilograms on a large pole is like playing. Rainwater, hold on tight. Dad, sit still. Let's go. He Yuzhu gave a strong push and the bicycle rushed forward. Feeling the gentle breeze blowing towards him, He Daqing felt comfortable. Unexpectedly, Silly Zhu could even ride a bicycle. It's true that the tiger father has no dog son. Chapter 8. Cai Quanwu, I am your brother, seeking flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He Yuzhu is riding a bicycle. In front of him stands He Rainwater, behind him carries He Daqing, and the father and son together form a scenic line. Rainwater shouted excitedly, this was her first time riding a bicycle. It attracted a lot of attention all the way, which really helped He Daqing overcome his addiction. In no time, He Yuzhu rode to the big fence. Stopping the car, there was no way to find Cai. Pillar, don't be fooling me, have you really seen your second uncle? He Daqing looked around, not seeing anyone who looked like him. Don't worry, just inquire and you'll know. He Yuzhu stopped the one pulling 3 wheels. Hello master, may I ask where Cai Quanwu lives? Do you know that I am a relative of his family? Upon hearing that he was looking for Lao Cai, the tricycle master looked at He Yuzhu. I didn't expect Lao Cai to have such a wealthy relative like you. He lives in the front courtyard at number 9 Xiaoli Hutong and can be found there. He Yuzhu understood that it was a misunderstanding to see himself riding a bicycle. Okay, thank you, master. He Daqing's fingers trembled a bit, but he didn't expect to be found by Silly Zhu. The father and son immediately found the large courtyard mentioned by the tricycle master. As soon as I entered, I saw Cai Quanwu washing clothes in the courtyard. Cai Quanwu heard the commotion and turned to look, instantly stunned. He Daqing let out a loud bang in his mind and froze. They look exactly alike. He Daqing is a bit older, but Cai Quanwu also looks older, saying that the two are brothers and no one would doubt them. Brother, ah! He Daqing's eyes turned red, and he rushed forward crying and hugging Cai Quanwu. Are you my brother? Cai Quanwu was at a loss. The person in front of him was carved exactly like him, which made him unable to recover for a moment. Brother, my name is He Daqing, my father's name is He Daqing, and he's also your father. We are half-brothers of the same father and half-mother. He Daqing cried with a runny nose and tears, this is finding his family. Yes, my dad's name is He Daqing, and I have the same surname as my mom. Cai Quanwu now believes that He Daqing is his big brother. The two hugged and cried for a while before finally separating. Originally, when He Daqing had a few coins in his hand, he raised a small widow outside. Before Cai Quanwu was born, He Daqing was caught by his wife and returned home. He could only give the young widow some money, which was enough for the two of them to live. Later, when Cai Quanwu was in junior high school, his mother passed away. After finishing the funeral, He Daqing also spent all the money left behind. From then on, Cai Quanwu wandered the world alone. I'm almost 30 years old this year and haven't married a wife yet. The tricycle that is pulled alive is borrowed, and it can only run when others are not working. This house is left by the old lady, so it won't wander around. Can be counted as the true urban impoverished population. However, don't be fooled by Cai Quan's current downfall. He Yuzhu knows how prosperous his second uncle will be in the future. Open a restaurant, build a hotel, engage in real estate, engage in cross-border trade, and keep going all the way. A lifetime can be incredibly exciting. This is also the reason why He Yuzhu wants He Daqing and Cai Quan to not recognize each other. With such a reliable second uncle who is 100 times more reliable than He Daqing, coupled with his own abilities, the old He family has risen up. Pillar, rainwater, call Uncle Air quickly. He Daqing wiped away his tears, happy. Uncle Air, yesterday was my fault, and I'm also uncertain. I'm afraid of recognizing the wrong person, so it's embarrassing. Fortunately, we're really a family. Cai Quanwu glanced at He Yuzhu, no wonder he had a sense of familiarity, it turned out to be his nephew. Uncle Air. He rainwater hid behind He Daqing and poked out his head timidly, saying. Okay, this is my nephew and niece, big brother. You're lucky. Cai Quan is not genuinely happy, today is truly the happiest day of his life. Rain, let your second uncle hug you. He Daqing pushed out the rainwater, and Cai Quan picked it up without any care. This little girl really hurts. Looking at Cai Quanwu, who looks exactly like his father, Zhao can't tell who is who. Being held in Cai Quanwu's arms and not crying, I knew it was my own relative. Brother, you are living a difficult life. It's all my fault, brother. I didn't find you earlier. Let's go, brother, take you out to a restaurant. We must have a good drink together. He Daqing pulled Cai Quanwu and left, while He Yuzhu pushed his bicycle and followed behind. Arriving at a nearby state-owned restaurant, He Daqing ordered a large table of dishes and said he wanted to drink with Cai Quanwu no matter what. The two of them exchanged glasses and shared their experiences over the years. He Daqing told Cai Quanwu about his plan to go to Baoqing, and the latter understood. The two brothers are both bachelors, which resonates with each other. Brother, don't worry about going to Baoqing. With me around, there won't be anything wrong with the pillars and rainwater. Good brother, here's a toast to you. He Daqing looked up and drank it all in one gulp. Cai Quanwu followed with a drink. Rain, eat quickly. He Yuzhu kept picking vegetables for the rain. He Daqing rarely takes them out to restaurants, and he won't have this opportunity again in the future. In no time, He Daqing was drunk and unconscious. He drank half of a bottle of Yanghe Daku. Pillar, your father has drunk too much. I'll kick 3 wheels and send him back, while also acknowledging the door. He Yuzhu nodded and said, okay, Uncle Heir, then I'll ride my bike and let's walk together. Cai Quanwu pulled He Daqing, and He Yuzhu carried the rein. Uncle and nephew returned to the courtyard one after another. At this moment it was the end of the workday, and the appearance of He Yuzhu caused a sensation in an instant. Bicycle, the latest bicycle. Everyone, come on, Silly Zhu has bought a bicycle. Yan Jiqing jumped and shouted loudly, and soon the people from the courtyard rushed out like bees. Chapter 9. He Daqing drunk and beats Jia and Zhang's clan, seeking flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Oh my goodness, Pillar, is this the bicycle you bought? Yan Bugui pushed his glasses, his eyes lit up, and he stared intently at the bicycle. He couldn't help but step forward and touch it. He has been wanting to buy a bicycle for a long time, but he is short of money. Several members of the family rely on him to support themselves, and it's unclear when they will be able to save enough money. I didn't expect Silly Zhu to buy a bicycle so quickly, and Yan Bugui's eyes were full of envy. Yeah, third uncle, it was bought by my dad. It will be convenient for me to go to work and out in the future. Most of the people in the courtyard have come out, and adults and children have surrounded He Yuzhu, making it impossible to escape. Everyone stared at their bicycles with fiery eyes, chattering as lively as during the Chinese New Year. What a change of temper. I'm willing to spend so much money on you, Pillar. How old are you? You already have a bicycle. This is the first bicycle in our entire hospital. I didn't expect it to be bought by Silly Zhu first. Didn't Lao Su's family have one? He doesn't count, he was assigned by the steel rolling mill. Except for the bell not ringing, it rings everywhere, and it can't be compared to a bicycle on a pillar. Cut, what's the point of showing off the smell? It's just a bicycle, and even my buddies will buy one tomorrow. Su Dumao pursed his lips in disbelief, just unable to stand the smug silly Pillar. Su Dumao is 1 year younger than He Yuzhu. He is 14 years old this year and did not go to school after finishing his first year of junior high school. He followed his father Su Fugui to learn how to play movies. Recalling his previous life, Silly Zhu froze to death under the bridge, and in the end, it was the body collected by Su Dumao, who even forced a few young rabbits from the Jia family to dress him in mourning. He Yuzhu doesn't dislike Su Dumao so much anymore. This product needs to be well renovated, it will be much better than the beasts in this courtyard. Collaborating with Su Dumao to dominate the quadrangle courtyard is not bad. Faced with Su Dumao's sarcasm and ridicule, He Yuzhu, for the first time, was not angry, but instead smiled and said, Su Dumao, they are all brothers. If you want to ride a bicycle, I can teach you. But you have to treat me to dinner. Su Dumao didn't believe it at all, thinking that Silly Zhu must not have held his fart well and couldn't breathe well. Silly Zhu, who is so brother to you? When you beat me up, why didn't you say it was a brother? It wasn't like you hit me with a bruised nose and swollen face. Everyone only thought that He Yuzhu was mocking Su Dumao again, but they didn't take his words seriously. If you want to use someone else's newly purchased bicycle, you have to treat them to a meal. Everyone actually listened to this sentence. I don't know how to ride the key. If you fall and still have to pay, it's not worth it at all. Who bought a bicycle? Who bought a bicycle? A sharp voice swept through the air, and Jia Zhang dragged her bulky body into the crowd, staring greedily at the bicycle. Silly Zhu, did you buy this? What a waste of things. Can you ride it? Coincidentally, my family's Dongshu is going on a blind date on Sunday, so I lent him my bike to ride for a few days. Anyway, it's useless if you want it. Zhang always reaches out when speaking. How could such a good bicycle be ridden by silly Zhu? It should be ridden by my family Dongshu. Did I borrow from you? Why, I want to steal it clearly. He Yuzhu's face turned cold. Zhang is really shameless, he doesn't have enough to take advantage of things. What's robbery? It's all from the same courtyard. Lend it to my family, Dongshu, to ride for a few days. What's wrong? My family's Dongshu is about to become a full-time employee. He is a regular worker at the Red Star steel rolling plant. We will have a blind date in 2 days and using your bicycle will save you face. Silly Zhu, you silly little bastard, why use such a good bicycle? Zhang didn't expect silly Zhu to dare to compete with her, so she became furious and jumped to scold, directly grabbing the bicycle. He Yuzhu became angry and was about to take action when he was suddenly pushed aside by someone. Who cursed my son? He Daqing was originally dizzy and stood at the end of the crowd supported by Cai Quanwu. Upon hearing someone scold silly Zhu, he was immediately aroused and broke free from Cai Quanwu before rushing forward. What an ugly fat woman, it's you cursing my son. Before Zhang could react, He Daqing grabbed her neck and slapped her twice in a big fight. Pop! Pop! The crisp sound echoed through the courtyard, leaving everyone stunned. He Daqing was full of alcohol, and it seemed like he was drinking too much, so he immediately started drinking. Silly Zhu was also called by you, what kind of thing are you? Who are you calling a little bastard? Damn it, scold my son, I'll kill you. He Daqing cursed and slapped while speaking, causing Zhang's eyes to shine with gold stars and her face to swell. Blood flowed out of her mouth. Woo, stop fighting. Help, help. Zhang screamed at the top of her throat, trying to escape but unable to break free. He Daqing has been shaking the spoon for decades, with astonishing strength. He tightly grasped Zhang with both hands like iron pliers, without giving her any chance. You said, no fight, no fight. Today, I insist on treating your stinky mouth. He Daqing reached out his hand and slapped it twice again, causing Zhang to cry out like killing a pig. None of the people present went up to stop him. One thing is that He Daqing got drunk and rushed up to argue, it wasn't about seeking a beating. The second reason is that Zhang's family is unpopular, accustomed to being sharp and harsh in daily life, and no one wants to stand out. Yan Bugui couldn't stand Jia and Zhang, and wanted to get some sweets from Lao He's family, so he stood aside and watched. Let go of my mother. Jia Dongshu's eyes rushed forward, and Su Damao secretly reached out his foot, causing Jia Dongshu to be thrown into a mess. It's not that Su Damao wants to help silly Zhu, it's because Jia and Zhang often scold him, saying that he can't compare to Jia Dongshu for 8 lifetimes. Su Damao had long been dissatisfied with the Jia family and worried about not having a chance to retaliate. As a villain in the courtyard, I naturally won't miss this great opportunity. Damao, enough brothers. He Yuzhu raised his thumb at Su Damao, who snorted coldly and laughed contemptuously. Lao He, stop it now. Why don't you quickly pull the people apart? Zhonghai hurried over and shouted loudly. He was chatting with the deaf old lady just now when he heard the commotion in the front yard and quickly ran out. Seeing Zhang being carried by He Daqing like a dead dog, Zhonghai became anxious and ordered several men to rush up and grab He Daqing. Woo, you killed me. Oldie, you have to make decisions for me. He Daqing is bullying us orphans and widows. Zhang lay on the ground and rolled around, shouting loudly. Lao He, what are you doing? No matter what, you can't hit someone. Zhonghai's whole body trembled with air. He is an elder in this courtyard, and He Daqing dares to beat people under his nose, which is not taking him seriously. If this matter is not handled properly, how can we establish credibility in the courtyard? Who else will listen to him in the future? Thinking of this, Zhonghai looked at He Daqing with a stern expression. Chapter 10. Easily pinch Zhonghai, seeking flowers. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Whoever curses at my pillar, I'll beat him up. He Daqing shouted loudly and was about to charge up and continue fighting, but was stopped by Cai Quanwu. Everyone suddenly realized that there were two He Daqing, and they were surprised and couldn't speak. He Yuzhu led the rein and explained to everyone, "Neighbors, this is my second uncle. We just met today." Everyone suddenly realized that no wonder they looked so similar to He Daqing. Some elderly people in the courtyard also remembered that He Daqing's father He Daqiang was not a peaceful person back then. Zhonghai was shocked and his eyes were complicated. Just now I was chatting with the deaf old lady about the silly pillar. The deaf old lady advised him to shift his focus to Silly Zhu, hoping that Jia Dongshu's retirement would not be reliable. Silly Zhu was the best candidate. The deaf old lady was very confident that He Daqing would leave the courtyard, but did not tell Zhonghai the reason. Zhonghai has poured too much effort into Jia Dongshu and is unwilling to give up like this. However, if He Daqing can really leave the courtyard, he can cultivate a foolish pillar and provide extra insurance for his retirement. Now suddenly a silly second uncle appeared, and Zhonghai instinctively resisted. "Lao He, please be clear-headed. This is in the courtyard, how could you hit someone with your hands?" "Pillar, apologize to Aunt Zhang quickly." He Yuzhu sneered, "Apologize? Why apologize? She wanted to grab my bike and even scolded me, everyone saw it." Yes, it was Jia Zhang who took the initiative and cursed harshly. "That's right, Jia Zhang is too bullying. If she has the ability, she can buy a bicycle herself. I don't blame Lao He for this. I can't bear to curse like this. That's right, Jia Zhang should fight. Every word you say and every word I say, everyone is wondering why the rain pillar is sounding unfair." Zhonghai was stunned and inwardly cursed Jia Zhang as a fool. Zhonghai doesn't want to get too into a stalemate with Lao He's family, after all, he still wants to get closer to Silly Zhu. So he used his trump card, moral kidnapping. Although Jia Zhang's curse was not the first, it was not a reason to hit someone. Respecting the elderly and loving the young is a traditional virtue. As an advanced courtyard, neighbors should love and care for each other even more. "Pillar, your father drank alcohol. I don't have the same understanding as him. Please apologize for your father." Zhonghai decided to instill in Silly Zhu the idea of respecting the elderly from now on and gradually start brainwashing. "Silly Zhu, you not only have to apologize, but also compensate me for my medical expenses." Supported by Zhonghai, Jia Zhang stood up again and lay on the ground shouting loudly. Jia Zhang felt like her bones were about to fall apart, and she didn't expect He Daqing to be so ruthless. "If you don't make some money today, this beating will be in vain. He Daqing, do you still have a royal law in your eyes? Surprisingly daring to commit violence and hit someone, I see that you are committing a crime and need to undergo reform." Lu Haizhong also put on a vice-official stance, accusing He Daqing of righteousness and righteousness. This person is typical of being ambitious and lacking in talent, dreaming of becoming an official for a lifetime. Since becoming the second uncle, he has been under the pressure of Zhonghai. Today, he finally has the opportunity to show his face and naturally won't let Zhonghai play a solo role. "Fuck your mother." He Daqing let out a loud roar, and his backhand slapped his face in the middle of the bangs, almost slapping him out. The bangs were stunned by the sudden slap. The whole person felt like everything was spinning around, and their head was buzzing. If it weren't for Lu Guangqi's support, they would have collapsed. He Daqing usually doesn't pay much attention to bangs, drinks alcohol, and doesn't care who you are, even if the Heavenly King and Laozi come. Lu Haizhong almost scared to pee and didn't dare to fight back at all. He covered his face and hid on the side, afraid to speak again. Everyone was very disdainful of Lu Haizhong's behavior of falling into trouble and bullying the weak and fearing the hard, casting contemptuous eyes. Why didn't Zhang stand up while grabbing a bicycle? He deserved to be beaten. Look, He Daqing is going to kill us all. Zhang let out a strange cry and patted the ground, as if he had died a father. Shut up. He Yuzhu glared fiercely at Zhang and cursed. Zhang is a useless elder. My father and my second uncle are both here. What kind of person is she? If you want to apologize, then let's report to the police and ask the police comrades how to judge the crime of robbery. Now it's a new society, and the Jia and Zhang families dare to grab things. What's the difference between them and the exploiters in the old society? I think Jia and Zhang are remnants of the old society. My father is doing harm to the people. He Yuzhu turned around and left. Su Dumao didn't mind the commotion, so he clapped his hands and shouted, "Silly Zhu, guys support you, call the police." Zhonghai panicked and grabbed He Yuzhu. If he were to report to the police, Jia and Zhang would be finished. Jia Dongshu is the designated elderly care partner, and the Jia family must not have any accidents. Pillar, not so much. Zhang was also momentarily confused. She definitely didn't want to steal your bicycle. Jia Dongshu is also anxious. He is about to go on a blind date. If his mother goes to jail, who would be willing to marry him? Mom, hurry up and apologize to Silly Zhu. It will be too late when the police arrive. Now the country is cracking down severely on crime, especially in the old society where some people have been severely punished. Once labeled with a big hat, going to jail is a small matter, and there is a high possibility of eating peanuts directly. Zhonghai didn't expect Silly Zhu's mind to be so bright. He completely led him away, and this feeling of powerlessness was the first time. Zhonghai changed his tone and urged. Zhang, what are you waiting for? Apologize to the pillar quickly. Do you want to go to jail? Zhang was frightened and trembled as she stood up. Silly Zhu, no, Zhu, I was wrong. I shouldn't have scolded you. Pillar, I got it wrong. If I really got it wrong, please spare my aunt. He Daqing cursed, kowtow to the pillar. Zhang didn't want to go to jail even if he died, so he knelt on the ground with a clanging sound. Everyone laughed heartily, and Su Dumao was also overjoyed. Finally, Lady Jia was taken care of. Apologizing alone is not enough. She scared my sister. Children are the most vulnerable to trauma and must compensate. He Yuzhu shook his head and said. Lose money. I don't have money. Upon hearing that Zhang was going to lose money, she immediately screamed. Asking for her money was no different from asking for her life. We won't lose money, right? Okay, then let's meet at the police station. He Yuzhu lifted his leg and walked away. Zhonghai's head was already big, so he quickly grabbed He Yuzhu and patiently said. Zhu, Dongshu is my disciple. For the sake of Mr. Yi's reputation, can we bypass Zhang this time? This year's civilized courtyard selection is about to begin, don't deduct points from the courtyard just because of this small matter. Silly Zhu, this brainless person, easily gets angry and his liver hurts. In the past, this move had many trials and tribulations, but when it comes to Silly Pillar, it doesn't work anymore. At this moment, everyone in the courtyard was watching, realizing that this old man had been taken advantage of by the foolish pillar. Zhonghai's heart is tired. That's not what you said, Grandpa. Because we want to choose a civilized courtyard, we need to discover this tumor early and eliminate it. Grandpa, I admire your character, otherwise the street office wouldn't have chosen you as an uncle. But you can't tell right from wrong about this matter today. Just because Jia Dongshu is your disciple, you can't favor Zhang. If it reaches Director Wang's ears. He Yuzhu shook his head and didn't continue. First, a big high hat was worn on Zhonghai's head, and then Director Wang was moved out. Zhonghai couldn't resist and couldn't speak for a long time with his mouth wide open. On the side, Yan Bugue was amazed and thought to himself, "Be good, can you? Is this still that silly pillar? Even Lao Yi has been pinched, this silly pillar is not easy."